So now let's talk about the OS module's directory functions in Python. So one of the things that you're going to have to be thinking about with your Python script is whether or not it is going to be running on different operating systems. Will it run on Windows or Mac or Linux? Basically, will your script go between these different operating systems? And if so, you can run into a problem because basically those different operating systems use different commands in order to interact with directories. If you want to make a directory, if you want to remove a directory, if you want to list directories, those types of commands, basically those are different amongst the operating systems. So Python has made it easier. They have these directory functions, and basically you can use Python's directory functions to do something like create a directory or delete a directory, and then that will simply fire off whatever is the appropriate command for the operating system the script is running on. So here's two examples for making or removing a directory. So os.mkdir. So here you would import the OS module. You'd have a directory name, let's say Bob's folder. Then you would simply run os.mkdir, whatever the directory name is supposed to be, and that would make the directory for you, whether you're in Linux or whether you're in Windows. If you want to remove a directory that exists, import os, directory name equals whatever directory that you're going to delete, os.rmdir, and then whatever the directory name is, and that will simply delete the directory. Now, one of the interesting functions in the Python world is the makeDirs function. Basically, what the makeDirs function will do is it will create the file structure for you. So if you have a parent folder and then children folders underneath, it will create both the parent folder and the child folder, right? So if you need to have a file structure that goes a couple of folders down, basically you can run this command and it will create all the folders in between. So you can do import os.makeDirs, and then basically that file structure. So the parent directory and then the child directory. The other thing you can do is you can add this argument here for exist_ok equals true. And so basically what this will do is if the file or the folder already exists, it won't flash up an error, right? One of the issues that you run into in the Python world is whenever there's an error in Python, basically the Python script will fail out. So what if the folder has already been created previously, but you don't want this to fail out if that folder has been created? So you can add this exist_ok equals true. Basically, if the folder already exists, hey, that's cool. You don't need to give me an error about it. Just keep going. Then we just simply print down here a directory created or already exists. And so basically that's how the makeDirs function works, and the exist_ok equals true. This is going to be an important one, especially if you're going to have a script where you need a folder structure to be able to save things for your script, but you don't know if the user will actually create the folders that are supposed to be there. By adding this kind of thing at the beginning of the script, basically if the folder isn't there, it'll create it. If it is already there, it'll just keep going, and it's a great way to make sure the folder structure exists for anything that your script will need later. The next function that can be useful is listdir. So what this is going to do is it's going to go through, catalog everything in the current directory, and then turn each one of the names of those items into a value within a list. So import os, print os.listdir. You see it opens with a square bracket, it ends with a square bracket down here, and then basically each one of these values is one of the files or folders that is in the folder that we're running this list directory command on. So this is a way to show everything that is in the current directory, put that into a list so that you can parse through it or iterate through it as you need. So the next function that can be very useful is getCWD, so get current working directory. So when your script is going to be interacting with files, you're going to be reading from a file or saving to a file, it's going to do that to wherever the current working directory is or to a specific file path if you get it. So a lot of times if you're just running a Python script without VS Code or anything like that, normally the default current working directory will be at your user's root account or root folder. So you go to the root folder, folder, and basically that's where the file should be that you're interacting with. This can be changed in any number of ways, so you may not know where the current working directory is. So by doing import OS, you can do print os.get cwd, and then this will tell you what your current working directory is so that you know where to either put files you're going to be reading from, or when you're creating files, you know where they're being saved to. Now in your script, you may want to change what the current working directory is, and so that's what change directory, the chdir function, will do for you. So in this script here, you're going to import OS, you're going to print what the current working directory is. We're then going to create a new directory name, so directory name for root. Let's say we want to change all the way back to the root of the system. We can do os.chdr, whatever the directory name we want to change the current working directory to, and then we can print out what the current working directory is, and we can now see we're at root, right? So basically when we started this script, it started at my desktop, then we finished the script, it started at root. So if you need to change where you want to be writing files to, or where you want to be reading files from, by using the change directory, that's one way that you're able to do that. There are more functions than what I told you about for directory functions within the OS module. So we have the ones we talked about up here, but then there's also things like rename. So you can rename a directory, you can scan a directory, you can do some other things. So if you want to play around with this, I would say go do a little bit of additional research. It is interesting to see what you can do with files and folders with Python. And again, the cool part about this is you can use the exact same command whether the script is running on Linux or whether the script is running on Windows.